Friends and enemies, welcome to another episode of the CBP. A beautiful holiday Monday here, a little seasonally cool, I think, for Labor Day weekend. My name is Joey. That's Len, reporting live from the basement and the basement, as always. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Basement squared. I'm all right, Joey. It's freezing over here. As you said, it's unseasonably cold. Didn't expect it to get this cold this fast. And it's just a stark reminder that winter is just around the corner for us, which is too bad. Labor Day is always the time that you look back, the summer's done. School starts, at least for the most part. I think school's already started in some areas.
Tomorrow starts here, right? Ontario?
Some parts of Ontario started even last week. And my daughter starts in 2 days. Imagine tomorrow is a PA day already for my daughter's school. They won. Second year in a row that they've done this. Either way, how are things over there with you, Joey?
They're great, man. Did a bunch of yard work today. Took care of the grass, trimmed some trees back. Took the dog for a nice long walk this morning. My wife is very pregnant now, so she came with us.
What's the estimated date, like month-wise?
November.
No, you don't have to go any further.
Yeah, mid-November. I honestly I couldn't tell you the day anyway. I forget now, but it's mid-November. So we're getting there. Busy weekend. We went to a party on Saturday, which was nice with all the football guys. Friday, pretty chill evening. Yesterday, pretty slow day. It's good, man. Once in a while, take those weekends where you just kind of recoup and regenerate a little bit, right? Because like you mentioned there, even though you and I are not in school, it'll just seem busier everywhere you go tomorrow, right? So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing all the kiddos though.
I'm gonna be in your neck of the woods on Saturday. Ye Old Squire or something like that. You know of that place?
Squire is on the mountain.
I'm gonna be there Saturday.
What are you doing there?
NHL 94 Championship of the Universe is taking place over there.
At Ye Old Squire.
Ye Old Squire. So a bunch of us
you're talking about on Upper Wellington?
I don't know the address, but it's something. It's on the mountain.
I'm pretty sure it's Wellington and Mohawk, maybe. No, not Wellington, Mohawk. Wellington and Gage.
I know it's just southwest of King's Forest. When I looked at the map, and it's on a mountain. And so it's going to be a good event to be there. And I'm going to test my skills against a whole bunch of others.
That's a great little bar. I've been there on St. Patrick's Day a couple of times. Great little spot.
Yeah, we rented out a room.
Yeah, the back room. Yep.
Yeah, so
that's pretty cool. I like that spot. That's good. Well, I wish you luck. Good to see everybody in the chat here. Appreciate you guys making time on a holiday Monday. I expect it to be a slow show tonight, but slow or not, we still have sponsors. The first of which, EasyDNS. Mark and the team at EasyDNS, okay? The best place for you to buy or port or bring or borrow whatever, a domain, and host it over on EasyDNS. Cheap, effective, efficient. And Mark is always there to help. I just ripped my finger open. Have a loose piece of skin. It's all right. It'll be fine. So anyway, if you want to do that, you can do that with Mark. He's always around to help. The support there is incredible. You can do all sorts of other stuff there too, whether you want to start doing some virtual private server stuff. We mentioned all the Bitcoin stuff all the time, the BTC Pay server, Bitcoin nodes, Nostr relays, things like this. On top of that, if you want to do stuff with stuff that's privacy related or privacy focused, so GPG and PGP email, both available to you, as well as a bunch of other stuff that we are totally forgetting. Len and I host our website on EasyDNS, and I'll tell you, it is outstanding. The level of service, obviously great. Mark is a friend of ours, friend of the show, and a friend of yours too. And you can expect all the same quality that we get if you head over there, use CBP Media as the code, and get 50% off your first round of buys. Can't beat it. Who's next?
Bull Bitcoin. It's a great place to buy and or sell your Bitcoin. I have no idea what the price of Bitcoin is, Joy. It's been days since I've looked at it, so I'm not. Maybe a good time to buy, maybe a good time to sell. But whatever the heck it is, Bull Bitcoin has you covered. Fees, I know that they're still rather cheap. I checked my node out just yesterday to see if it's still running. So fees seem cheap as of yesterday. So on-chain buys you do over there, obviously. But when they go up, and they will go up, it may be tomorrow, next month, next year, next decade, whatever it may be, but fees will go up. And when they do, you're going to be kicking yourself if you haven't yet learned something. But Bull Bitcoin gives you the opportunity to buy and sell on Lightning, and that's quick, fast, and cheap to do. You don't have to deal with the on-chain BS that's usually going on with a high fee environment. Other things you could do with Bull Bitcoin, you can buy gift cards. So with your Bitcoin, you could buy gift cards through Bull Bitcoin and indirectly start spending your Bitcoin in the real world. So you could get a Starbucks coffee, you could get a card, and maybe get a Grande. I don't know what the heck they sell at the Starbucks. I'm not much of a Starbucks guy, but either way, it seems to be very popular. A lot of people like Starbucks. But other things you could do with Bull Bitcoin, you could also pay your bills. And that's pretty cool. So if you have a lot of Bitcoin and you don't want to start spending it, that's a good way to do it, is start paying off your bills using the Bitcoin that you've stacked over the years. Also, Bull Bitcoin has expanded into France. In the next few weeks, there's going to be some. They purchased Leon BTC, I think is the name of the company. Yep. I could be wrong. So they're expanding over there. So if anybody's listening from that side of the Atlantic, use our promo code. If you do that and you open up an account, $21 Canadian will be added to your account. No questions asked after you fund your account and provided necessary information.
Incredible. Last sponsor, Decentral Tech. Len, are the CBP branded BitAxes going to be ready soon?
I think so. And we're going to get more information about that in a couple of days. We'll talk about that momentarily. So right now I don't know, but we'll find out.
Get excited for that. Decentral Tech is your home for mining that is wife friendly. Okay. This is the tagline that we use here on the program. Whether you want to get a board repaired, you want to buy a new board, you want to heat your house, you want to heat your garage, you want to set up a BitAxe in the background of your podcast because you don't have one yet. You want to support the show by buying a CBP branded BitAxe. You want to play the lottery. You want to solo mine. You want to pool mine. Doesn't matter. Jonathan and the boys over there, they got you, man. They got you. They are the best in class, like all our other sponsors. Can't beat it. I want to see you guys buying these things. Not because we get a kickback. We don't. But mostly because I think we've both become more zealous in this view that we have to decentralize the mining as much as possible, even if it means just little bits of hash rate scattered all over the place vis-a-vis these small units. So go to Decentral Tech, pick something up. It's not that expensive. Everything is built in for you. So you get the cooling in there. You can have whatever model you want in terms of terahash, exahash, whatever, the firepower you got. Different levels of power draw as well, fits your needs in whatever your household power situation is. Can't really beat that. And Len, like I mentioned there, your wife's not going to mind. It's not going to be that loud. At least some of them. You could get a loud one, but you don't have to get a loud one.
Yeah, if you're looking for a BitAxe, in terms of how loud it is not. It's quiet as heck. But they also have other options you could get over there. So if you want to get, say, like an S19, that's going to be loud. And well, unless you put the Loki kit on it or something, then it could be much more quieter. But then there's also other options you could get. Decentral Tech is, let's see, there's mining that you could do, heating, home. So that's coming up this winter. People are going to have to start heating their homes with electricity. Why not use a miner to do it? And they have you covered. They'll give you the opportunity to buy, and they will help you learn how to use the equipment. But not just that, I'm going to be talking to Jonathan this coming Wednesday from Decentral Tech, and we'll be able to talk about the upcoming BitAxe, CBP branded BitAxe, and there's anything else that's going on over there. So we'll be able to get an update with the CBP branded BitAxe and everything else that's going on in the mining game. So Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern. You want to just tune in for that.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Yeah, there's tons of stuff on the website. You can't miss it. As well as 3D paintings if you want to do that. Oh, Len's laundry is done. Okay, so where do you want to start? We can do housekeeping here first. Last week, in lieu of an interview, we did the first ever CBP live fantasy draft, which was watched by way too many people. No one should really give a shit about that. But it was fun anyway. We had, Len, I don't know if you tuned in, but we had every person from the draft, save for one, attend the live draft. The room was packed.
What happened to the one?
He was coming home from work. He actually messaged me separately. He was coming home from work. He was trying to do it half in his car. And so he didn't want to join the stream, but he's still there. Anyways, it's so rare to have a draft where everyone can attend and make their picks live, even if they didn't join the stream. So I was really pumped about that. That was 50,000 sats per person to join. So we'll see how that turns out. I was a donor last year. I feel great about my team this year. Went with 3 running backs early. So a little bit against the grain there. I have another draft tomorrow. I may try and execute a different strategy, but looking forward to that. Like you said, we have Jonathan from Decentral Tech coming on Wednesday. And I think that's it for housekeeping. We should just go to the boost now, I guess, eh? Unless you have something else.
I'm good with that, yeah.
That's it.
So Mo BTC Dick, 500 sats. Spicy Rip, gentlemen. I'm just surprised Canada isn't front running unrealized gain tax.
Well, we're trying. We're trying. Don't give them any ideas. We are trying now.
The Bird, the Blank, 500 sats. Simply writes in the mandibles. Yeah, you're getting there.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Rander 666 sats. He says,
Hey,
Musk, RFK, and Tulsi all endorsing Trump should be enough to give him enough margin to overcome some shady shit. We all know the Dems are going to try to attack the vote somehow, but as long as the margin of victory is high enough for Trump, he should be okay. I just hope he stays alive until then.
what a time to be alive. Comments like that, spot the lie. It's all accurate in there, I think.
Wartime, 1,000 sats. Tax, D's nuts. Okay. Lightning Mick, 2,100 sats. Now, keep in mind his name on this. It says Lightning Mick. And he says, I'm not an on. My username shows when I'm commenting. Mickles. So it's either Mickles or Lightning Mick. Either way, thanks for the 2,100 sats. He says, OTEC. Guess they're not taking over all the jobs just yet. Keep it up, boys. Any recommendations for Android Noster client? Primal doesn't allow Canada for wallet activations, and Amethyst doesn't load. Cheers.
Thomas would be the natural other one, right? Is that Android or iPhone? It's iPhone for sure. I don't know if it's Android too.
I don't know if it's on Android. I use Amethyst and it works well. And in terms of Primal not allowing for Canada, dude, don't you have a VPN? You could just simply get around that. And so for me,
as long as you're not in Brazil, you can do that.
I am right now in Brazil, according to my VPN, at least my phone. I've switched there. But Amethyst, I'm wondering why it doesn't load. There's a guy named Victor on Noster. He's the guy that administers that. He's the creator of it. So maybe you want to reach out to him if you have any problems, and he'll be able to answer your questions. So you could use the Primal web app. Obviously you need some way to activate it. So use the Primal web app. That's going to be your gateway into Noster, and from there you could ask him and see what you could do. I like Amethyst. It works great. It's kind of like a Twitter clone. So if you like using Twitter app, you'll like using Amethyst. Not to say that Primal isn't bad. Primal is really good too.
They're both good. I like them both. I'm surprised actually at how high quality the apps were. I think was it a week ago or 2 weeks ago, we were kind of talking about it on the air, maybe after the show too. I just visited Noster in the 2 apps. They've come a long way. I've kept them on my phone and kept updating them over the last year or so, and they've come a long way since the last time I really tried to use it. So I do owe it to the community to try and spend some time there, I think. It's
grown a lot, especially in the past week and change, 2 weeks.
Because of the Twitter stuff?
Yeah, so many people migrated over to Noster and got their feet wet, and a lot of people seem to be happy with what's going on there. Look, you could post whatever you want, and there's going to be no repercussions. Just people will simply unfollow you, and that could be it. But there's no way to be banned from it. It's a decentralized system, so there's a lot of pros. The cons, though, there are quite a few. There is no algorithm if you like to have an algorithm feed you stuff. It's simply just a timeline, and you're listening to all the people you follow and the conversations they have. That's it. And so if something's gaining traction, it's getting a lot of likes, it's not going to end up on your feed unless it is something one of your followers did something. They engage with that somehow, then it will show up in your feed. So that's
that's a good thing. That's a good thing. We should all
it's good and bad.
We should all try and get used to it in some respects, right? Yeah.
That's it for the housekeeping. That's it for, at least I think. Certainly that's it for the boost, Joey.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just note that next week on Tuesday night, our guest is the one and only Mike Campbell of Money Talks fame. You've heard him on this show. This will be his 3rd appearance. I've been on Money Talks, I think 4 times at this point. Mike is one of my favorite people. He's a guy who's longer in the tooth than Len and I, has seen a lot, has done money management, has done investing, has seen the ups and downs of the market and the ups and downs in the sanity of the public. And, if you don't listen to Money Talks, I'll just note that a show that has been traditionally about investing and economics is still heavily themed like that, but he's really taken the gloves off in a lot of ways in terms of what he's afraid of as Canada, I think, culturally shifts towards something that's a little more volatile than any of us are used to or ready for. So I would recommend listening to that. And I really hope you guys will come on Tuesday night. He's very, very good. And we share a lot of the same concerns. So I'm looking forward to talking to Mike, as I always do.
Well, for people that are tuning in and want to hear some Bitcoin related stuff, it's not going to happen this week because you know what? You may want to hear
Len sent me a message Friday night at 8:30, and he said, "We're not doing Bitcoin this week. We're going full clown world. There's too much content. We have no choice."
It's full. So like the Simply Bitcoin stuff being reinstated. If you want to hear our comments on that, I'm not going to provide any. Joey, if you wanted to go right ahead.
Congratulations. Good to see him back.
Good. Okay, I'm good with that. OpenSea's getting the Wells notice. Fuck them. And yeah. Binance seizing Palestinians' assets. That's
FTX redistributions coming in November, it looks like, as well, announced today. So there you go. That's the Bitcoin news. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to stay for the notables, go ahead. If you don't,
there's gonna be a ton. So yeah, we're gonna go long. I think. I don't know. No, we'll still stick to this usual time. But starting off, Joey, X supposedly went dark in Brazil, and we kind of hinted at that just a little while ago. My phone is in Brazil, if you look at where it's the packets are coming out of. So this whole ordeal with X in Brazil follows a Supreme Court order which banned the platform in Brazil. So this applies to not just applications on your phone, the Twitter application or X application, but also web-based for people that also like to use web-based X wave. I use it. I prefer that than over my app, to be perfectly honest. But either way, that's also banned as well in Brazil. And from what I've been reading, people are reportedly feeling disconnected as a result of this order because they're not able to engage people that they were engaging in the past, communicating. So they could be all over the globe. And with this now in effect, they lost effectively how to communicate with them. So they're feeling disconnected. And I can understand that being the case. But it also goes to show you how powerful this platform can be, because you'd have a lot of people that are reliant on it. Brazil is a large population, and Brazil is a large user of X. And now with this recent move, they're no longer going to be reliant. So they're going to have to somehow get their information elsewhere, just the crowdsourced information elsewhere. What is left? What options they have? Nostr being one. I would suggest maybe this might be an influx of Nostr people coming in from Brazil. But either way, this Supreme Court ruling comes down because Musk removed his legal representative. That's the whole thing. Now, if you look at it from this vantage point, it kind of makes sense, because according to the Associated Press, now before I'm going to talk about the order itself, the judge apparently had threatened the legal representation with arrest. Yeah. This is according to the Associated Press. I have no way to verify this, is what I'm reading. So with no legal representation, this case effectively was canceled, or at least put on hold. So according to the Supreme Court's press office, foreign companies like X, they have to have legal representation to operate in the country. So now with him pulling the plug on that, you no longer have that legal representation as such. Now they're going to be saying you can't operate in Brazil. So looking at through that lens, it kind of makes sense. But remember what happened in Brazil. They had a recent election not too long ago. A lot of questions to do with the not legality, but how well it was done. And I don't want to go too much into that, but people could certainly look into that a little bit more. But either way, according to CBS, people who try to connect to X right now through a VPN, so trying to bypass this ban, they could face a fine of up to around $8,900 US per day. That's a significant amount of money to be fined. I'm not certain how they're going to go around this. And
so I'll tell you, I'll hop in here. They backtracked on that a few hours ago, because as you're mentioning, it's hard to enforce mass disobedience. Means that there's just not enough resources to enforce these things. And if there's not enough resources to enforce, you can't enforce them. So they backed off on that portion of the thing, as well as the VPN portion. You're allowed to use VPN and there's no fine now, but they still have Twitter, quote unquote, banned, whatever that means.
So people of means and have the knowledge, they're just able to use a VPN. It kind of seems strange, so to speak. So they're giving some people the opportunity to get around it, but the majority of people that don't use a VPN and probably don't have the funds to pay for VPN every month, they're banned from it. It kind of seems strange. Either way, this shutting down of X is not unprecedented, Joey, because from what I gathered, WhatsApp had been shut down in Brazil a few times in 2015 and 2016, because At that time, they did not comply with police to give user data. So this is not the first time this kind of stuff has happened. So it goes to show you what is going on here. It's a struggle for power, control, maybe something else, but it's shining a light onto something, though. When you're dealing with a centralized entity, which is X, it could, at least somebody could put an order to ban it. And maybe it might have some implications, but for something that's decentralized, like Nostr, it's impossible to ban. So this, more than anything, shows that a decentralized service is the one that is going to win in the long run.
I actually don't think Nostr is impossible to ban. I think they'll go after app developers pretty quickly if they ever had to. Though that's it doesn't mean to be easy, and obviously anyone can develop an app, but I think they go after app developers and pull from the app store and stuff like that. It's doable because even if the service is the wrong word, even if the protocol is decentralized, the access points are not, at least not for the time being. As far as the Brazil thing, yeah, look, I mean, we've talked about this so many times, Len, that in times where your government is weak, in times where your ideas are so good that they have to be forced on people by law and by threat of violence, and in times where information that's true is dangerous to the established order, you have no choice but to ban these sorts of vehicles, these channels that are open to people, right? Twitter has become truly the enemy of so many governments. I won't name them, but you can imagine that not all of them are in the second and third world. There are some first world governments that are having a hell of a time with Twitter, over the last month or two, and will have even more of a hell of a time with Twitter as they near election season in the States and here and other places as well. To me, what I think is that what I think you're going to see now, in Brazil or in other places is basically that anyone who is making, hay on Twitter by saying things like, maybe this election wasn't fair, right? Or maybe we should protest X, Y, or Z. Or maybe we should be concerned about what's going on in schools. Or maybe we should be concerned about what's going on in our neighborhoods. Or, in Canada, the sentiment toward immigration has shifted basically 180, a hard 180 in the last 12 weeks, it feels like, in the general public. Like, it happened fast. It's my view that Twitter contributes to all those things at a rate that no government or state actor is prepared for or was prepared for. And honestly, Len, whether they agree or disagree, they'd rather not have it happen that fast. They'd rather not have it happen that way. And I think that Twitter is going to put a target on their back. I want to mention John in the chat. They can't force uninstall from phones or computers. He's talking about the Nostr apps. Yes, they absolutely can. In fact, you have to opt out of that on iPhones. You probably have to opt out of it on Android too. They certainly can pull apps down from the App Store, and ISPs can certainly limit you connecting to certain things. So
but once it's installed, can they? I'm not familiar with iPhone. I'm less.
Yeah, they can pull it from your phone. There was
really.
Yeah, there's actually a tutorial on this like a week ago, around the time this started happening. Just because people were saying some of the same stuff, that this stuff can't be uninstalled. It can. You have to make sure that you're protected against it on your own. But I mean, at the end of the day, you flipping a switch ultimately is not going to stop Apple from taking something off your phone. You have to realize that if things get dire, that they will do what it takes to get that app off your phone. I
just want to say really quickly.
Yeah.
Options, Graphene OS. You don't have this.
There's other options. Yeah. 100%.
There's a rudimentary app store that's built into the Graphene OS. But from that, you can get the F-Droid, and then it's just simply APKs at that point.
Yeah, I don't know about Android force uninstalling, but Apple for sure can do it. Anyway, this idea that Brazil is the canary in the coal mine, I think is true. But they're not the only one right now. We talked about Starmer a couple of weeks ago, Britain having trouble with these riots and people posting pictures of the riots and talking about the, racial makeup, religious makeup of certain raucous groups. You can say that it's contributing to further disorder. I'm not saying that it's not. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but it's not untrue to post a video, right? It's maybe inflammatory, but inflammatory sometimes still needs to be shared. And if you look, Len, at stuff like the community notes, how many politicians would want that community note thing scrubbed probably so badly? Like every politician basically in the Western world gets absolutely nuked in the community notes on every post, whether it's about inflation, whether it's about jobs, whether it's about immigration, whether it's about currency value, whether it's about interest rates, whatever. They get nuked. In Canada, it's especially bad. I don't know about the American politicians. Harris and Walz do get pretty toasted on their community notes as well. And I have seen Trump get toasted on his recent tweets too. So it's not just one side of the aisle doing it to the other. It's both. And I think that that's important. These people need to be held to account. And Brazil, Len, they want total control, man. And the whole point of these services is to let people think and speak freely and hear other views and opinions and share their own views and opinions. And people can share things that are not scrubbed and polished and, CNN down from 48 minutes to 19 minutes, to cite a recent example before they hit the web. People don't want that anymore. And they don't want it because they know that the media lies. They know that governments, twist the truth and try to make things sound better and look better than they are. But people can see, right? And, for all the prophetic commentary in 1984, what Orwell missed is that social media would come along and a guy who just wanted to have the Babylon Bee reinstated would just buy the thing and let people run wild. And I think a lot of people, not just Orwell, missed that possibility, and they're paying for it now, big time.
Elon Musk, he has to have a target on his back.
It's a huge move. Like him buying Twitter, Len. I think we talk about this on the air. We may have talked about it off the air.
We talked about it
on Access of Easy.
So it could have been on one or the other. Yes.
Yeah. Right. About how different would things look if Jack Dorsey still owned Twitter? How different would all this look? All of it. The Trump assassination attempt, the Biden coup, the Kamala different accent, for every flavor of hot sauce in her fridge. She's got a different fucking accent talking to these groups of people, depending on what race and state she's talking to. She sounds different. Like Twitter points all that stuff out thanks to the hive mind. But man, there was a time not long ago when Jack owned that place and it was a fucking gong show, man. You couldn't say anything. You got banned for talking about certain things that were, true. They were true. COVID was a great example. COVID just unbelievable. But some people still think it's detrimental to have that level of, freedom of thought. I personally don't. I don't think you do either. I think many Bitcoiners have that same view, that more freedom of thought, the battle for dominance of ideas has to happen out in the open. There's a lot of people who don't think that. And I think a lot of them are of that opinion. A lot of them have that view because they know that their ideas are just not that great. And there's not really any other way to put it.
When you're talking about people getting lambasted on Twitter,
yeah.
It's funny. Does that still apply? Do they still get community notes?
Yeah.
When they put on a post that has they limit the replies, is that still possible?
Still get noted? Yeah.
Okay. Because I noticed a lot of people are doing that, and they're limiting the amount. Talking about elected officials, they're doing that, sort of limiting who can write replies. And come on, that's kind of BS in a way. This is kind of the court of public opinion, and you're limiting some people from giving commentary. Sure, there'll be a lot of negative commentary
because they'll get nuked because they're spinning a yarn, right? And it's always the same. And then thank God people are kind of waking up to how dumb these criticisms are. Like, oh, it's far right, it's racist, it's misogynist. No, it's not. The comments are very rarely anything of that nature on political advertising or like election related stuff. They're almost always based in fact. They source articles. Community notes is an interesting thing, right? Like I have a notes, like my account is notes enabled. So I can go to notes before they're public and rate them. And they're always pretty good. Like they have all the sources. There's stuff in there that is not that great sometimes, but the stuff that wins out is rock solid. And people don't like that because like I said, politics is a dirty game, and I'm not blaming politicians for playing it this way. It's always been played this way, but now they're in a position where truly they are fighting the last war, and it's starting to show, right? They look weak when they go to social media because they're just not cut out for that. The comm style just does not fit that ecosystem anymore.
Mm-hmm. Well, the California Bitcoiner podcast is now in session.
Perfect.
You guys gotta talk about California. The NBC, this is an article from them. And it says that Allstate gets okay to raise California home insurance rates by average of 34%. right? So the gist of what is happening is that Allstate customers, so those homeowners that are insuring with Allstate, they're going to see a huge increase moving forward. And if you think that shopping around may be the answer, State Farm is also asking California to approve a 30% hike for homeowners as well. So it looks like there's going to be a bunch of insurance providers that are going to be hiking up rates for home owners. So either people are going to have to do something. We'll talk about that in a second. Either way, NBC article did not explain why the increase is coming. I had to do some digging here. So Michael Solar, this is the Deputy Insurance Commissioner in California. And I'm going to quote him. He says, California's insurance rates on average are lower than many states, including large states like Florida and Texas. He said that we're seeing the impact of disasters, not just wildfires, but winter storms.
Oh my God.
Seeing the impact of climate change all across the nation. We're not alone. So, yeah.
Couldn't possibly be that there's roving gangs of drug addicted criminals.
And wildfires, some can be naturally occurring, like this sort of, or some could be done by an individual, or it could also be poor management.
Lack of management.
Of brush. And so like there's a whole bunch of things. Be perfectly honest, a lot of this is way beyond my pay grade, but to simply just pinpoint one single thing as the reason why. Another thing to consider too, there is an inflation that has to be considered here.
That's a big one.
We hear about 2%, whatever the last reported number was for July. There is a real number, and everybody's feeling it. Compare your grocery bill this year versus 2, 3, 4 years ago, and you'll see that is the real cost of inflation. So with now this being, instituted and this sword dangling above the homeowners' heads in California, they have to make a decision. Either go without insurance, risk it, maybe sell, become renters, sell and leave California.
Is it even legal to? I don't think you can actually, like, the libertarians have a sort of a two-pronged beef with the insurance companies, right? One is that there's a pretty significant like monopoly or like oligopoly power. They fix prices basically. But the other is that the government forces you to engage with a private entity for vehicle and home insurance. I don't even think you can go without. You have to pay it.
In the States, you don't have to have vehicle insurance. I know for some states, maybe some of them they do.
Okay.
I've often watched cops and people don't have insurance, and they don't.
That's not the right sample group, though.
No, but they don't arrest them for. So that's based on what I'm like.
I didn't know you were a big cops guy.
I love watching that. It's so much fun. But to be honest, I don't have TV, so whatever I have with limited, so I just choose to watch that. Either way, so there may be. I think things are different in the States than they are here. I could be wrong, especially with the home ownership. But for car, you don't have to. I think you're just running the risk. Over here, I know you have to.
How funny is it that these guys basically just have like a Wheel of Fortune wheel that has a million different slices on it, but there's only two things that are two possible outcomes. One is Russia, one is climate change. And so like they just spin that wheel for everything that happens, right? And now I think Kamala is going to try and add price gouging to it. So maybe there'll be a third outcome possible, but maybe a fourth, like far right extremism they'll throw on there. No matter what they do, it's always one of those four things. Whatever the cause is always one of those four things: climate change, far right extremists, Russia, or price gouging. It's an easy gig, man. If you can just point to these things, and the party is like, the people who vote for you are like, hell yeah, it is Russia that's causing the forest fires or whatever. Like, okay,
those motherfuckers out there.
Oh man,
you ever hear of a place called Shake Shack?
Yeah, of course.
I haven't. Not before reading this article. It's a burger joint, from what I understand.
Yeah,
in the States. So they're shutting down 6 locations in the state of California. And it's not due to the home insurance, because these are commercial businesses. But the New York Post believes that this might be due to a wage increase for restaurant workers. Did you know that restaurant workers in the state of California now earn a minimum of $20 US per hour?
We talked about this like 2 months ago. And the funny thing in the story was that it excluded bakery workers.
That's right.
Newsom's biggest contributor on the restaurant side is like Panera Bread or something.
Before this, it was $16 an hour. So it was pretty high before, but now it's even higher. So $20 per hour working at, say, McDonald's, that's not a bad gig after all. But so Shake Shack, look, they're shutting down. They're saying these places are underperforming, but I think this potentially might have something to do with it. Dishing out $20 per hour per employee it's making it more difficult to make ends meet. So whatever, maybe California will set up their own state-run Shake Shack alternative. We'll see what happens. Chicago seems to be kind of doing these things.
Isn't it just the crime though? Like I know here in Hamilton, there's like McDonald's and stuff that I used to go to when I was a kid. You know, I went there for McFlurries or for burgers with the boys, like late night stuff, the kind of stuff you do in high school, you know, like you're out with your buddies and you want to get a burger at 9:00 because you don't have any problems with heartburn or indigestion or staying up too late. And so you go get a burger at McDonald's and a huge fountain pop and sit in the McDonald's table area there, the eating area, and just chop it up with the boys there, you know, talk about what you learned as far as the women in your life or sports or whatever, right? All the stuff that coming of age really should be happens in a fast food restaurant sometimes. And those things are going away now because even in a place like Hamilton, they're closing those seating areas. Why? Because the people that come in there are just undesirable people. They're loud, they're rude, they're on stuff, they're causing trouble, they're a net negative for the business, even if they're patrons. And by the way, the big problem often is that they refuse to patronize the business, but just want to sit and hang out, you know, or one person will buy stuff and 10 people will come in with them. This is not, you know, you're losing on this kind of stuff. And Shake Shack is not a place where you get Uber Eats, you know, Shake Shack is not a place where you order and then go pick up. You go there and sit, or you go and grab and go a little bit, but you have to actually go to the business. And even if the business is doing okay, the minimum wage thing is a big hit for sure. But the other big hit, I would say, is that people just don't want to be around the people that hang out outside these places or even inside these places. You've seen the pictures of San Francisco in California. You've seen the other cities in California, the pictures, the videos. We've talked about it so many times. Would you leave your house to get a 6 out of 10 hamburger if it meant you had to go buy a drug den?
It depends what comes along with it. Do I get a syringe? Do I get that as well? I don't know.
I don't know. Good question. But it's like so obvious, right? I think it's so obvious that you're going to have all these problems because society is just coming apart at the seams in some of these places.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we've been saying it for a long time, and people would have said that we were, you know, inappropriately doing so a year ago. But now I think everyone sees it. Drugs are causing tons of problems, among other things. And, you know, these businesses are the ones who are going to suffer first. And just, you know, for all these people who claim trickle down economics don't work, they're going to find out fucking fast how important trickle down economics is when all the businesses in the area close.
So another story from California from ABC News. It says California bill would allow undocumented immigrants paying taxes to get home loans. So this is Assembly Bill 1840. It's been approved by lawmakers, and right now it's headed to the desk of Gavin Newsom for approval.
Good.
And as per the ABC article, those that apply to get a loan under the California Dream for All program won't be denied based on immigration status. So the program helps out first-time home buyers by allowing them to pay back the interest by not paying back the interest portion of the mortgage.
Incredible.
So only the original loan is paid back plus 20% for home appreciation. So it's going to be up to $150,000 in total plus closing costs. It's possible now people without legal status to use this program. That's if Gavin Newsom approves it. It's still not yet.
He's going to.
He's going to. I don't know what can go wrong from all this. You know, home prices in California are already very high. Now we're probably going to have a whole bunch of homes for sale because they can't afford the homeowner insurance. And now you're going to be asking these people, these undocumented people, to buy these homes, and who's paying it for? The collective is going to be paying for the loan.
How
itself.
pissed would you be if you were someone who like went through a 12-month period where you had a house but lost your job, couldn't make your rent, were evicted, you're on the street, drugs are all around you all the time, you're trying to hang on, food banks don't have enough food for you, there's no space in shelters, but illegals are coming over and grabbing a quick interest-free loan for a house? How pissed would you be? Like, this is what I'm talking about when I say like societal fabric is coming apart. Like, this is why. FYI, this is why. It's not a mystery, you know, like everyone should be mad about this.
Now, the overall United States, what's the population? We'll say 300 million. It could be
probably closer to 350, right? I think 350.
Okay.
Yeah.
and I don't know what the population is in California, but I think it's the most populated state in the U.S. Take a guess. How many undocumented people live in California? If you just were to come to
Can you give me the total population
of the state?
California? Yeah.
I don't. I'd have to pull it up. Let me see. Population California.
Yeah, give me that number and then I'll guess.
39 million as of 2002.
5 million illegal.
So the last numbers I have were from 2021, and it was
Yeah.
estimated 1.85 million. That's
Okay,
the most in as of any state in the United States.
21.
That number,
So
yes. So
yeah.
3 years later, that number could easily be over 2 million.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
3 million, probably not. That's my guess. I could be wrong. So think about now you have these people here potentially able to take advantage of this program. The one thing that they're saying though is that you have to be a taxpayer. So it's people that are undocumented, but they're paying it. They're collecting.
How is that possible?
They have a job somehow and they're paying taxes, income tax, whatever the fuck they're paying. They're paying some sort of taxes. Okay. So there is some semblance of understanding why it is they want to do that, because at least they're paying into a system that they could take advantage of. But like you said, think of all the people there that have been doing this for a long period of time and they're now dealing with drugs and losing their job because of shutdowns and shit like that. And now they're watching somebody else also have the same type of advantage you have. And they just Johnny come lately. So
it's absolutely unbelievable. It is unbelievable how like blatantly political this is, you know?
Yeah.
What is the name of that theory where like if you really wanted to upset a governable order, you would do it by like runaway inflation, tons of immigration, Cloward Piven or something like that?
Not even, no clue.
Look it up. Look it up. Someone will tell me in the chat. Cloward Piven, I'm pretty sure it's called. Where like if you this is indistinguishable from basically like a intentional demolition of a governable order because it's no longer favorable to the governing, group. I think this is nuts, Len, but whatever. We're not even scratching the surface of how notable some of these things will be.
Oh, no, let's keep going.
I know.
Staying with California, Jamul, California. This is about 5 to 10 miles east of San Diego. And well, an email went out by the Jamul Dulzura Union School District because it's indicating that some buses have been disrupted by migrants that were attempting to board them. So school started over there, apparently.
This is the Canadian demonetized podcast. We are just rolling downhill here into all
this is a Fox
most
News
controversial topic.
So apparently, migrants attempted to board buses along the District A and District B school bus routes. And in one of the instances, 3 migrants were in the middle of the highway blocking the road, and they tried to stop the bus, but apparently the bus had to avoid to get around them. So they did that. But in another one on District B, from what I understand, a group of 20 or more migrants were trying to mingle in with students.
Oh boy.
And at a bus stop, and parents had to help the bus driver make sure that the students were safe and only the students boarded
that is
the
nuts.
bus. I guess they need some education. That's why they're trying to get on the bus to go to school. That's what I'm guessing. I don't know, but you know what? This is a problem that's going on just east of San Diego, right? It's California. It's
you say that kind of stuff with a straight face.
What can I say?
What do you think? They're trying to get some reading, writing, and arithmetic taught to the tune of a hickory stick. I fucking doubt it. I doubt it.
I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt.
They get enough benefits. When you say we just talked about 120K or whatever that was.
Let's give a little bit more.
Oh God. It's so hard. Don't get me wrong. Okay. I know on this show, oftentimes I won't speak for Len, but I know that I say things that can be abrasive or unpopular that will make people not want to talk to you at a barbecue. Okay. I get that. But what other position can a sort of thinking person take on this issue? What is the other position? You have these kids who are on a school bus, and you have a bunch of people who are undocumented, right? To use the kind term, who are, at the very least desperate, but in the worst case, dangerous. You don't want to have a vulnerable population with that kind of person. I don't care what their situation is otherwise. This is why you have immigration systems that are established and monitored and these types of things. You can't just have people running around on roads trying to get on buses with kids. if this happened in your neighborhood, the police would be called. But because they came from another country illegally, we have to, parse our words. Like I have a hard time with that, honestly. I really do. I mean, you're a father. I'm about to be a father, knock on wood. You wouldn't you have a problem with this if this was happening on your kid's bus?
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if it's a migrant or anybody else.
Exactly. That's what I mean. It just doesn't matter. But for some reason, we can't talk about this, right? You're not allowed to speak. You speak pointedly about these sorts of things. Well, we should speak pointedly about them because they're important. And if your kid was on that bus, you would feel pointedly about it too, I think. I think that's a pretty safe bet.
The Colorado Bitcoiners podcast is now in session. That's
Okay.
all the CBP. So reports are floating around that migrants originating from Venezuela, they have taken an apartment.
This is a great story. This is like a Grand Theft Auto side quest or something. I can't believe this shit.
But there's no finality to it. It's just an ongoing thing. You're not there to kill them or at least, rub them out one way or another. Either way, Aurora, Colorado. That's where this is taking place. It's a apartment complex, and migrants from Venezuela have taken it over. Homeland Security apparently has confirmed from the video that's floating around that the folks are part of Venezuelan gangs. So they're gang members from Venezuela. Yep. And in fact, there was a shootout in a parking lot not too long ago. So there's been some activity since July. And I'm just shocked that nothing has been done since then. It's been like a month and change or so that this has been going on, and still this is ongoing. But one thing I just want to point out is, I don't know if there's any validity to this, but Trump has been saying a long time that countries have been emptying up prisons and sending them to United States. And they're, based on this, who knows? There may be some truth to that, but if Homeland Security is indeed saying that they're the part of a Venezuelan gang, how did they get in?
The mayor was on Fox, I think, last week, Thursday or Friday, and basically confirmed that, these guys did basically take over 2 apartment buildings or hotels or something.
How come the army wasn't called in?
That's what I'm saying. What do you mean they took over? Don't you have cops in town?
Well, there comes a point where cops can't handle it.
Yeah, but can we drone strike or something?
What are you talking about? Just something escalate it.
Exactly.
That's why it's been going on for a month and change. If it's one day, okay. I mean, I don't want to justify one day. One day is too long. But you're talking weeks and weeks.
And to your point, they're just collecting rent from people. Basically, they just took over the revenue stream. It's like a scene out of that show, Sons of Anarchy or something, where they just are running a town. The videos from the security cameras in the buildings are pretty insane. You seen them? The guys running around there. And by the way, they look young.
It's Migrant Sons of Anarchy.
That's sorry, I forgot. Yeah, sorry about that. But it's crazy. These guys are just running basically a property management business now. I mean, this is very unofficial, of course, but it's they're just going door to door with machine guns asking for cash. I guess that's the story. That's what the mayor seems to say. And he's we're trying to figure out. And he's the reason we don't engage, actually, now that you mentioned that, the reason we don't tell our police officers to engage is because the gang has orders to freely shoot at police officers. So these guys
who has the power here?
Oh, Len, you know who's got the power.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I hope you didn't DEI your police force over the last few years, because you're really going to pay for that now. Because these guys, they don't give a shit. When they hire gangs, they got guys who can shoot and guys who are willing to die for the cause. It's crazy, man. I hope it turns out okay. I would hate to live in a place like that, but not good. It's not a good situation up there in Aurora, Colorado. And some people on Twitter going, yeah, it's not real. This isn't happening. Buddy, the mayor was just on TV. He said it was going on. What does the mayor have to gain by saying he's lost control of a quadrant of his city? Nothing. The answer is nothing. So yeah, it's a serious problem. How to your earlier question, they should send the military, should they not? What is the threshold for that? It's got to be close to this, no?
Everybody in that building that's a resident, get the fuck out, because they're gonna go in, or maybe send in the Secret Service and have the Secret Service protect the building.
Listen, we saw the Secret Service already a couple weeks back. I don't think the Secret Service.
Well, if you give them orders to protect the building itself, you know what's going to happen.
The building will be destroyed.
Perfect.
Interesting. Yeah. Oh yeah. Reverse jinx. Okay.
Australia, buddy. Let's go to Australia. This is a doozy of a story.
Rory on the Bobby.
Amon. I hope I pronounce. Actually, I don't give a fuck if I pronounce this guy's last name correctly. He stepped down as a member of parliament this past week. He was a member of parliament in Australia. And according to ABC News on Australia, this dude was charged with 10 child sex offenses. 10. And from what I could tell, and
Come on, man.
It gets even more interesting, Joey. And he's a former member of parliament. From what I could tell, and I can't verify if this is accurate, since this is all alleged, charges include 5 counts of having sexual intercourse with a child between the ages of 10 and 14.
Hang them.
And allegedly, these crimes occurred in 2017. So it's now been, 7 years since this has taken place. Man. And these allegations on their own are very bad. Obviously, you can't. But last year in May of 2023, this guy was appointed the Shadow Assistant Minister for Youth, Housing, and Planning and Public Services.
Talk about government bloat. Do we need shadow assistant ministers of anything? And they didn't even vet this guy. No one thought to look in this guy's closet. Oh my god!
He's a youth minister, and he's doing this kind of. This is clown world to the.
It's notable. It's notable. It's very notable.
No. So when I read shit and all the previous stories, there's no way we could talk about fucking Bitcoin. Not after seeing all this was going. And there's still so much more to talk about. This would be a 10-hour show if we talked about Bitcoin. So yeah, that's.
Listen, this is the word. This is as bad as it gets. I shouldn't joke about kids, but there's really no excuse for allowing this to happen. Anyone who's ever ran for public office would probably tell you that the sort of vetting and oppo research and red team stuff that goes on whenever anyone takes an elected office is very significant. There's almost no skeleton that will remain unturned or unearthed or in your closet, as the saying goes. How did this happen? How could this be possible for, you said 2017?
2017, allegedly.
7 years, almost 8 years, right? Yeah, allegedly. We should be clear about that. But pretty serious allegation for it not to be substantiated. And I think you mentioned there was half dozen of them, right? So yeah, not very good. Not very good. I mean, what else can you say? I don't want to give this guy more airtime, but yeah, not great.
Zuck. We can talk about Zuck.
Zuckerberg.
So he came out swinging this past week of the White House because apparently they were putting pressure. The White House was putting pressure on his Facebook team or Meta team for months to censor certain COVID-19 content, including humor and satire, and they expressed a lot of frustration with their teams, and he says they didn't disagree. So yeah, this is kind of an interesting information that he's been
that's one way to put it. Yeah,
there's nothing you could talk about this because we talked.
Okay, you asked on the other show, Axis of Easy, okay, which you guys should all be fucking subscribing to because it's a good fucking show. We spent a lot of time preparing for that show, arguably more time preparing for that show than this show, actually. But the thing that you asked me on that show was what changed for Zuckerberg between then and now that he made this admission, right? And what did I say? I'll tell you exactly what changed. He started working out. And now he's a little bit more conservative than he was a year ago. He's going to get bigger and stronger. He's going to go more conservative. He's going to start telling all these other people to get lost, kick rocks, and beat it every time they put pressure on him to do something. He'll say it's policy. He'll say they're adjusting. He'll say this is what our users need, this level of transparency. But I will tell you that what's actually happening is he's lifting weights. This is it, okay? How many times you got to see in the New Yorker, the New York Times, CBC, CTV, you name it, all these publications talking about how the alt-right starts in the weight room. It sure does. It sure does. Conservatives are stronger than I think the other parties. And you see this oftentimes. I've made mention of this more than once, but there's a great 4chan post about how people who don't lift weights, who are weak mentally or physically, filter their ideas, their opinions through this idea of protection and safety. Do enough other people have this opinion that I'll be safe? They don't think about things about whether or not they're objectively true. And Zuckerberg was in
numbers. That's the
sort mentality. Of, yeah, exactly. And so Zuckerberg was in this other camp before, but he's in our camp now. And not a surprise. When you become physically fit, you start thinking a little more clearly. This is why I always say half jokingly, maybe less than half jokingly these days, If you can't squat 225, we got to talk about whether or not you should be voting. We got to talk about it. I want to see what we got to put Smith machines. We got to put power racks at every electoral, like every ballot station. And you got to just we got to rip one rep for the
there's more to it. I mean, you could change the oil if you want to change.
Sure.
That's another. Well, there's so many other things you could do. But
sure.
you say is an R camp. Joey, I don't know, man.
Like, I think he is. I
don't belong in anybody, especially not his camp.
The conservative camp. The conservative camp will say.
I'm not a conservative though.
I am. I think he's leaning to the right now.
I don't want to be labeled. I am me.
Boomer's laughing in the chat because I almost said Smith machine there. I get shit on Twitter all the time. I didn't mean to say Smith machine, but that's what came up. Freudian slip.
Joey,
you know what a Smith machine is?
Mm-hmm.
Those guys give me a hard time for my Smith machine lifts.
Especially if you're doing it alone.
That's what I know. That's what I say too. And
right,
it's also good. It's also good if you want to push past a plateau weight. Like you said, if you're by yourself, Smith machine's pretty good to do that for.
Right.
But I mean,
you're not going to ask your 7-month pregnant wife to come.
No, you won't. It's funny. Like I think this is not a shot at Boomer, but it's funny. I bought like 2.5 pound plates maybe 2 years ago, something like that. And a lot of my friends are like, why do you need 2.5 pounds? Like blah, blah, blah. If you can't figure out why you need the Smith machine or 2.5 pound weights, it just tells me that you're not pushing yourself hard enough. Because you do need those little bits of weight at the top end of what you can handle to push just a little over the top, over and over again. And then before you know it, you can do a higher weight. That's how progressive overload works. But that's neither here nor there. And we can go on.
Joey, with that, that's it for the notable stories. We have Notable North coming up.
I love it.
Talk about there.
Let's get after it. Good to see you guys. If you're on video, audio, spaces, whatever, stay here. If you're not, then wait for tomorrow for the rest of the episode. Take care of yourselves.
Don't be a cock.